I'm not sure if Genevieve Rizal is here. Is she here? Oh, there you are. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so we have our family panel. Some of us are meeting for the first time in person, by the way. We've been for 5 months on these teleconferences and getting to know each other. Some of you have been on them. I'm going to cut my intro to the family a little because we're going to start shaving off, as you know, minutes to make up for a little bit of breathing when we were giving ourselves in the morning and make sure we had a good amount of people in the welcoming, which we do. And so, why? As the Colectivo Todo Poder del Pueblo, we got together with the local groups here, Mencha, others, and we started talking slowly but surely with the families especially, where do we want to go next? And one of the things that we seen was the need of the families to get to know each other. Because once the local families started talking, there's this power and the strength of the families that we said, we have to harness that energy of the people. And so how do we do it? Well, let's find the families. And slowly but surely, we started finding out the families here in Oxnard, the Limon family, the Ramirez family, and others are not alone. We started finding that people have been resisting police brutality and the killings, extrajudicial killings is what we're saying, of their children for a long time, and they're doing amazing work. So we said, let's find them and invite them, and let's get to know each other. That's what the purpose of the conference is, which has been stated. So that's why we wanted to highlight briefly in the morning to set the tone of that by inviting a few of the families that have been very active across the state here today in a brief panel. And what we've asked is for the family members to briefly say who they are, who their child was, who they're fighting for, and okay, I'm sorry. I was just informed that the Limon family? The Limon family? We can have a representative up there? I apologize. Okay, so in a bit I'm gonna hand out the mic for the families themselves to speak who they are. And I'll be moderating. The most important thing that we've asked them to say is why it's important to get onto the streets and fight for justice. To lose our shackles and lose our fear, to take on those that are oppressing us. That's the goal of this panel, to bring it from a family perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and start, if you don't mind, from this way, or maybe Ms. Ramirez, since she's representing, if you don't mind starting. Okay, there's microphones here. And I'll let Ms. Teresa Ramirez present herself. Bienvenida.
For a long time, I thought I was by myself, my family and I, and then I started seeing everybody else, and I found out that's a horrible way to feel, but we're not by ourselves. We have so many that are going through the same thing, and absolutely there's been no justice. My son had a drug problem, there's no denying on that. He was fighting it. He was 26, and he didn't want to go back to prison. He had been on parole before committing a car burglary, I think it was, and he did his time, but he did not want to go back. He was trying very hard to better himself. All he wanted was a family and a baby of his own. Never got that chance. Because on June 23rd, he got murdered by the Oxnard PD. They denied hitting him. They denied tasering him. They denied doing anything to him. But I got to see his body in a plastic bag. That was the last time I saw him cut open because they did the autopsy without nobody's consent. We didn't get to see our son. In the hospital, the person who was GPSing our address to let us know what they were doing got arrested. No charges, just got arrested, so he couldn't notify the family. They say it was a terrible tragedy. That's what the police chief of Oxnard says. It was just a horrible tragedy. But in fact, just by looking at what they did to my son, they beat him to death. This was just part of what I could see because my son would not allow me to take a look at the rest of his body. He said, "No, Mom, it's so hard for you to see the rest." So I know that they murdered my son. And how could they cover it up? They hired a retired medical examiner to do his autopsy on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock so that he can sign his death certificate falsely so that he can lie. He had nothing else to lose. And justice needs to be done. Yes. Because they did murder my son. And these officers are still working. They got 4 days paid vacation for the murder of my son. And they're still working. 2 of these also murdered Limon. Why? Why are they still working? Why are they still free to continue hurting and killing our children? They should be locked up where they belong.
That's right.
And our chief of police needs to be fired.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Maybe if I could ask Ms. Limon, can you say a few words, please?
Good morning, everyone. I too will be speaking in English and Spanish. My parents are Spanish speakers, so I owe that to them. Good morning, everyone. Today is a saddening and a powerful day. I say saddening because I look into the crowd and I see so many families and so many people who have lost a loved one to an issue that should not exist. I also see powerful because at the same time, I see a crowd of people who is using their voice and is speaking out against this police abuse and brutality. My brother, Alfonso Limon Jr., was shot and killed by the Oxnard Police Department on the night of October 13, 2012. His death has marked my family and my life forever. He was an innocent person who was deliberately shot and killed by the reckless and negligent officers of the Oxnard Police Department, who allegedly mistook him for a suspect when they were in pursuit of another person. Their mistakes cost my brother his life and have caused a permanent wedge in our lives which will never be filled. We miss his smile, his hugs, his laughter, companionship, and love. We miss him more and more every day. He was only 21 years old and did not deserve to have his life brought so coldly and carelessly. It was completely unnecessary. We stand here with you today experiencing pain, grief, anger, and frustrations, as all of you. We must stand united, organized, and peaceful to get justice for every single one of our loved ones whose life was cut short too soon. We love you now and always, Alfonso, and we will always miss you, and we will not give up until justice is served. Buenos días. Hoy es un día triste y potente. Digo triste porque miro hacia la multitud y veo a tantas familias y personas que han perdido a un ser querido a una cuestión que no debería de existir. Pero también digo que es un día potente porque al mismo tiempo veo a una multitud de personas que están utilizando su voz y hablan en contra del abuso y la brutalidad de la policía. El 13 de octubre de 2012, mi hermano Alfonso Limón Jr. fue intencionalmente balaceado por el Departamento de Policías de Oxnard, que según ellos confundieron con un sospechoso que ellos perseguían. Aquellos policías le robaron su vida fríamente y sin ninguna razón. Sus errores causaron la muerte de mi hermano y un gran vacío en nuestros corazones. La muerte de mi hermano pudo haber y debería haber sido evitada. Extrañamos su sonrisa, sus abrazos, su compañía y amor. Cada día lo extrañamos más. Él no merecía que le robaran la vida fríamente porque él tenía todo su futuro por delante. Compartimos el mismo dolor, tristeza, ira y frustraciones como todos ustedes. Debemos de mantenernos unidos, fuertes, organizados y pacíficos para poder obtener justicia para todo y cada uno de nuestros seres queridos cuya vida fue robada repentinamente. Alfonso, te queremos hoy y siempre y no nos daremos por vencidos hasta haber hecho justicia por ti. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. I think what we'll do is if we could ask, we'll go from that end of our guests this way. So Mr. Knight, Representative Mr. Knight, and feel free to pull the mic out too. Yeah. Okay. Bienvenido.
My name is Damian Ramirez. Michael Knight was my best friend. I've known him since he was 4 years old. I watched him grow up. You know, my younger brother and him were best friends since kindergarten. So he was like my little brother, you know. He was a great guy, family man. He had 4 beautiful children. Going out to celebrate his birthday. His birthday was 3 days away from October 22nd. That was the night he was murdered. October 22nd, 2011. Stopped to get gas in the city of Downey. We don't even live in Downey, he just stopped to get gas. Apparently, according to police, even though this report's never been released, we can never get this confirmed, there was an armed robbery in the area. And they were looking for 2 suspects. Mikey did not fit the description of the suspects that they were looking for, but that didn't stop them. And in the DA report, they described Mikey as looking like a gang member, which is all it took for them to end his life. Now the thing is that Mikey was going out to celebrate his birthday. He was going out to party, you know. He had no idea that something like this was going on in the neighborhood. But when they stopped him, that says it right there, he looked like a gang member. So how do you think they treated him when they stopped him? You think they were courteous and respectful? No, because it's a war out there. And the worst gang that we're dealing with is the police department. So this gang member with a badge approaches my friend and asks him basically where he's from, hits him up, right? Mikey freaks out. I'm going out to party, man. My wife's right across the street. He had run across the street. That's his big crime is he jaywalked. Go get some cigarettes for his wife. So he's trying to explain to this police officer who he is, and they're you know, treating him like the gang member they think he is. And Mikey panicked, man, and he ran because he knew his wife. The only person who believed in him in this situation was waiting right across the street, and they got these cops that are freaking out, talking about felonies, talking about putting Mike away. Mikey boned out to get back to his wife. He ran for his life. And when they put the call out on the radio about my friend, they described him as the assailants that they were looking for. They were looking for two African Americans in black hooded sweatshirts, and Mikey was wearing a multicolored polo shirt that did not fit the clothing at all. But they described him as the suspect so they could apprehend him with prejudice. Right? So Mikey calls his wife. He's hiding, you know, he's like, come and get me. The cops are chasing me. I don't know what's going on. So she's looking for him. He's in a panic. They're chasing him down. Mikey jumps a wall, and at this point, Officer Steve Gilley and Officer Michael Powell see Mikey. Officer Michael Powell, in the DA report, sees that Mikey's unarmed. When Mikey jumps the fence in the house that he was hiding in, his shirt goes up over his back, and Mikey is twice detained. They know he's unarmed. They detain Mike. Steve Gilley, the officer who murdered my friend, tells Mikey, don't do anything stupid, or I'm going to blow your effing head off. That's all he needed to hear, right? This guy's pointing a machine gun at him. That's right, an MP5 submachine gun. So Mikey ran. And when Mikey's running for his life, Officer Steve Gilley puts 3 rounds in his back. In his back, running away. One of the things and one of the questions that was asked tonight about, you know, why do you take to the streets and why do you fight back? The first thing they did to my friend, the first thing they did to everybody's sons, they lied. They lied immediately. They said Mikey made an aggressive move towards the police officers, that he was acting like a caged animal, that he wanted to fight. Mikey's 135 pounds, soaking wet, wearing boots. Okay, he didn't want to fight a cop. He wanted to get back to his wife and finish celebrating his birthday. But they ended that night. They said he got shot in the chest. We knew he got shot in the back because they came out that night from the emergency room and said, your son's been shot in the back. Don't listen to them when they tell you he was shot in the chest. So for 3 months we went to city council meetings and we said Mikey was shot in the back. The sheriffs, the media, who's supposed to be impartial, the city of Downey, they all said no when Mikey made an aggressive move towards police officers. For 3 months we said that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. And it wasn't until the independent press, there's a small newspaper in Downey called the Downey Beat. They're only online, they're independent, run by one man with a dream. He subpoenaed the autopsy reports. He found out that Mikey was shot in the back 3 times, and he broke the story. But if we don't fight their lies from the get-go, their lies are the story that gets told. One of the things that we fight for, we talk about it, is the legacy, because that's all we have left. All we have left is the legacy that our loved ones leave us, because their bodies are in the ground. They are dead. They're gone. They're not coming back. But their legacies belong to their families. These liars and these murderers, they don't get to tell the story. They don't get to tell the lies. That's not what we remember. We fight for the truth. All we have to do is tell the truth. We tell the truth. We tell the truth. It doesn't change. Their lies change. Their lies change every time. Our truth is universal. And when we took to the streets and we started to protest, we started to find other families. Because that's the thing, is that there are so many of us out there who are hiding, because this is a hard thing to do, to stand up to the cops and say, we're going to fight you back. It's a hard thing to say, we're not going to accept your lies, we're not going to accept what you say about our loved ones. Because you know what they do? Just like when Martin Angel Hernandez was murdered in Anaheim, in front of his whole neighborhood, just like we'll talk about Manuel, Genevieve's going to talk about her son. When Martin Angel Hernandez was murdered in the city of Anaheim in front of 60 witnesses, when the DA report comes out, why does only one witness make their name into the DA report? 59 people said Martin surrendered, dropped his weapon, and was shot in the head, because a gang hit is a gang hit. And when a cop kills somebody, it's a gang hit. Don't you doubt it. They are waiting to be empowered. Those of us, you know what, when they killed my friend, I made an oath that morning that they were not going to get away with this. And I would fight until my last breath to make sure that they don't get away with this. And you know what? We have that kind of resolve. We have that kind of commitment. We can use this to inspire people who are afraid to come forward, because you know what? My uncle was killed in '83 by the police that I live in. And you know what they told my parents? They said, yeah, there's something there, but do you want to raise your kids in Southgate? Then you better put it away. That was in 1983. There was no Facebook. There was no social media. There was no way for us to connect. Right? 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we had the Egyptian Spring. Right? That's what inspired us. That's what inspired us, is that in some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, people could connect through social media, that people could connect and rise up and change things. And we've seen that happen here. We've seen that happen in each one of our communities. In Orange County and LA, we're organized. We've got families. We've got Martin Angel Hernandez's family with us today. We've got Jose de la Trinidad's family with us today. We've got Javier Alvarezola's family with us today. We've got Tony Francis's family with us today. We've got Cesar Cruz's family with us today. We've got Marcel Seda's family with us today. We've got Manuel Diaz's family with us today. That's right, we fight together and we fight hard, because family don't fail each other. And family doesn't, we don't put up with this. We're all family now. You know how much I've been looking forward to coming to Oxnard to meet you people, to meet my family? Because we're all family. We're all fighting for the same thing. Fight for justice. No justice, no peace. There's no peace in my life since they killed my friend. There will be no peace in my life until he gets the justice he deserves. That's what we say when we say no justice, no peace. I have no peace in my life. So I will go out there and make sure I find justice. We find justice so we can have that peace in our lives. That hole will never fill. But we can change the system so that our loved ones, our children, that's what we fight for, don't have to grow up in the same system. We will change that broken system from top to bottom, because we know what's right. We are the people, and we do have the power. Thank you, sisters and brothers.
No justice. No justice. No peace. Thank you, brother, for representing the Michael Naida family. If we could please ask brother that I finally got to meet. We've been on the phone for months and calling each other once a week, checking in. It's been an honor to work alongside with him and setting this up. It gives me an honor to present Brother Cephas Johnson, known as Uncle Bobby, uncle of Oscar Grant.
Thank you, Chava. First, I just want to thank the collective for putting this together. Also, the Meet Your program, working with the collective, us families here to make this happen. And of course, the Oxnard College for allowing us to have this space. And my condolences and love to all the families out here who have lost a loved one to the heinous act of a police officer that kills our loved one. So again, from our family, from my sister, Wanda Oscar's mother, we say, we love you, and we will do what we can to support you. And before I start, there's two things I do want to say. Mike's best friend just shared that he was killed on October 22nd. And if you don't know, October 22nd is National Police Brutality Day. Mike was killed on that day. Let all the families in here today remember October 22nd, 2013. We will be in the streets. Let the world know that we're tired of our families dying at the hands of the police. And the other part, my sister here, Love, she shared a photo of the police officers who killed her son. Every family in here, get a picture of that police officer and understand his history, and make sure you put his face there with the victims he has killed. And we gotta let the world see these individuals so that they know that they are among a killer in the streets. And why that's so important, and I'm sorry to take it this way for a minute, Johannes Mesley, we have been told, has just secured a security job in San Pedro, California, with a security company, with a gun on his side. As you know, he killed my nephew, Oscar Grant. So, we have to know these individuals that are walking our streets so that we can let the community know that this particular person is a killer and has been found guilty of that. And if they haven't been found guilty of it, that we're in pursuit to find them guilty of that, and that we have to stand up and speak that we do not want these heinous officers in our community. So these pictures of these officers is really important because they're smiling on a young man's face, but he don't know he's got a demon smiling at him. And one wrong move could cost him his life. So we got to warn our babies. We got to warn our children. We got to let them know what officers are in their streets, in their community, that have committed that heinous act of killing. So that's real important. Families, let's advertise these officers. Let the world know that they're killers. So I am Oscar Grant's uncle. I'm sure hopefully all of you know he was killed January 1st, 2009 on the Fruitvale Park platform. As you can see in the videos, and thank God it was videos, because had it not been videos, none of us probably would know who Oscar is today. You know, and I need to say this too. Had it not been for the community that stood with us, that prayed with us, that cried with us, that went back and forth to court with us, just was there for us to lean on. And they're utilizing their First Amendment right to speak to the injustice that they saw what happened on Oscar, to Oscar. We wouldn't have been able to do this. And it was because of that. It was the first time in California state history, hear what I'm saying, that an officer was charged, arrested, convicted, and sent to jail. So let that be a ray of hope for all my families that have lost a loved one, that it can happen. We made history. We want to be clear. We didn't get a victory. We made history. But let Officer Moody, who killed Ernest Duenas, let Officer Master, who killed Alan Bluford, be victorious. You hear what I'm saying? As well as all the other families. Because an officer needs to go to prison. And that is the only way we will be able to put a stamp on this issue. So it's my hope that you all seen the video of Oscar. You know, I don't need to really belabor what happened on that platform because I'm sure if you've seen that video, you know. That same night, there were two other gentlemen that was also shot in the back, just like Oscar. And we don't really hear much about them. Adolph Grimes in New Orleans, who was shot 14 times in the back, 22 years old, just like Oscar, died. Then we have Robbie Tolan out of, I think it was Perry, Texas, who was also shot in the back, laying face down like Oscar. The bullet's still in his liver today, but the young man lived. And again, all these officers was a justifiable shooting. I stand here because I have a real deal passion for helping families find justice. And so when I speak not just for Oscar today, but I speak for all the young men that were killed since Oscar was murdered. And right now I have here, including Oscar, 21. 17 of them are since Oscar murdered. And this is not even all the fatal fatalities of the young man in our Bay Area community that has been killed by these heinous rogue police officers. So my job is not only to let the world see our children that are being murdered, but also, like my family here showed, I'm putting together a plaque that will show these officers that we have in our community, I'm sure in yours too, we have officers that have killed 3 and 4 times. 3 and 4 times. Like my sister Gloria is saying, 5 times in Fresno. The world needs to know about these officers. Bill of Rights that is in existence that protects these police officers so they cannot be held accountable for the wrongs they commit. We have to address that piece of legislation.
That's right.
I'm going to add this and then I'm going to pass it on. We just went to the Sacramento State Capitol for an event that was titled Victims of Crime Week. April really is considered the month. And they had, hundreds of pictures of families who have lost loved ones to other families, black on black, brown on brown, in the community, advertising their face at the state capitol. But there was a segment that came to the state capitol that was like us, from our communities, that weren't even pictured in their stuff. You hear what I'm saying? So this, as the program opened, our spiritual brothers shared with us, let this be a new beginning. This is about us coming together in unity, taking us to the state capitol and speaking directly to Kamala Harris for turning a blind eye to what these police officers are doing in our community. We need to start now. October 22nd is a real important date because it's going to set the tone for April when we all go to Sacramento.
Yeah!
So we got to get this out now because the only way it's going to stop, and I'm telling you, as Minister Keith Muhammad speaks about what happened in Oakland and how we got justice for Oscar Grant, it can be duplicated. And the reality of it is, in some cases, it will take some burning of buildings. I don't advocate violence, but what is a building to a life?
That's right.
It takes our labor force. We must connect with our unions. We must. An economic shutdown of this city is powerful. It speaks volumes. It wasn't until that West Coast was shut down that the state of California lost all that money that they began to really pay attention to us. There's power in that. So we must remember it's not just the community, but it's our labor force joining forces that can really change and bring about this change that we need when it comes to police brutality in our community. There's so much that I can say, but this is about our loved ones. But again, as our spiritual family has shared with us, let this be a new beginning, because 400 plus a year die at the hands of police officers. 400 plus. And we multiply that with the families. Every year, thousands upon thousands, thousands upon thousands. There's many families that don't even know if this is happening. We cannot be silent no longer. It is time to change what is happening, and this is the beginning. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to invite Rosemary Duenas. Again, somebody I just met today finally, but we've been communicating with each other for months, preparing for this conference. She could present the case of what happened to Ernest Duenas, and she'll speak to the video, which we posted on our local sites if you haven't seen it. Ms. Duenas, thank you.
Okay. This is my son's doing. I know he's watching over me. My name is Rosemary Duenas. I'm the mother of Ernest Duenas Jr. that was killed on June 8th of 2011. He was murdered by Officer John Moody of Manteca Police Department. I won't have to go into too much detail as to what happened because if you watch the video, you can see it with your own eyes. There's no lying, there's no denying. The officer, Moody said he was fearing for his life, yet he approached my son as he was coming out of the vehicle. He approached him. He went at him and he shot him in the back, the face, multiple times. And it's not just the shooting that was horrible, but the aftermath. The aftermath was even worse. He treated my son like an animal. He pulled on him. You hear my son moaning and groaning as he's dying, and all this officer is saying is, "Where's the knife? Where's the knife?" A knife that he never finds on him or near him. This officer is a murderer. And once again, they're out on the street, paroling the streets, smiling and grinning and acting cocky. We go out every Sunday and we protest in front of that police department. Then what do? They get my younger son, Gabriel, and they put a restraining order on him, saying he's making threats to Moody's, making threats to another officer. All lies, all stories. But you know what? They gave us more power because my son cannot protest in front of the police department. So now him and a large group protest a couple of blocks down at a main intersection. Yeah. And we keep fighting. And our warriors, our army just keeps growing. Not just within the community, but throughout all of you. Everyone. And we're not just Hispanics, we're not just blacks, we're white, we're all colors. I look out there and I see unity of many races, and that's the way we need to stand. Because they want to divide us. They will go on there and they go on our Facebook, on my son's Facebook, and they try to say, "Oh, you're sellouts, you're just with the black community, you're not with the Mexican community." You know what? I'm not with no race. I am with a group of people that have, human beings that have lost their loved ones. And we're fighting for justice. And we have to stay under one umbrella because you know what? If they break us into branches, we can't succeed. We need to stay together in unity. And we need to fight for our children, our loved ones, because you know what? No one else is going to fight for them. We're not going to let them die in vain. I say that when John Moody murdered my son, he did not know what stood behind him. He thought he was just some parolee that no one cared about. I put that on my Facebook every so often. John Moody, you didn't know what you got into. That's right. Because his family and all these families are not going to stop. Because there is a fire burning inside of us that cannot be extinguished. That's right. We just keep going and going and going, and we unite with others. We can unite with all. We come together this way. We need to continue to come together this way. Because this is the way we are going to win the battle. And I thank you all very much for inviting us here and putting this together.
We're gonna end this part of the panel with somebody that I have been talking to more recently in preparing, and this one hit close to home for me in a lot of ways. Because of where I grew up, and when I see the photographs of Manuel Diaz, it reminded me so much of, like, almost all my cousins. And it was really, really powerful. And so we're honored, just like we're honored with all the families that are here, to invite Genevieve Huizar, the mother of Manuel Diaz.
Genevieve Huizar, mother of Manuel Diaz, shot in the back by Officer Nick Benelit on July 21st, 2012. The next day, Joey Acevedo was also killed. His mother, Donna Acevedo, is not here today, but I need you to know that she's here in spirit and heart.
She is.
And I want to begin with Barbara Padilla, mother of Marcel Ceja. Teresa Smith, mother of Cesar Cruz. Javi's parents' family. Rosie Trinidad. Corey Klein's brother, Joe, murdered. Michael Nida's family, murdered. Martin Hernandez's sister, Sonia Spear, murdered. And so many more out there. We're here with you with love and respect. We appreciate Colectivo putting on this program, this conference for us. Chicano Unidos, the Brown Berets, all the groups that are here, Justice Warriors, everyone that's here today to make this movement for justice. This has been one of the most difficult things of my life. Manuel was my only son. He just turned 25 the week before he was murdered. He wasn't married. He had no children. I cannot hold my grandchild because it was never born. We just want you to know that we're here united with you. We're going to have information for everyone to be in contact with each other. And we need to know that next year that we're all going to mark Sacramento.
That's right.
We're going to have car washes to raise money. We're going to do whatever we can, selling of the t-shirts, whatever we can do to raise money for next year's event. We want other states united, Texas, Colorado, New York, Florida, all of the states where this is happening. We need a nationwide event to happen to change these officers' Bill of Rights that they are hiding behind.
That's right.
You know, this has just gone on way too long and way too far. A lot of our people, our sons, our brothers, our nephews could be here today if they weren't hiding behind those Bill of Rights. This is giving them the open door to keep on killing over and over and over again. I'll just end real quick. I know there's many cultures here, religions here, race here, and we are united as a one of being all human being. We all bleed the same blood. And I'm just going to say that my Lord Jesus Christ has brought me here today. I just have so much faith in him that he's going to get justice for all of us. Amen.
Again, I'm going to cut a lot of what I need to say to more of like the directions of what needs to happen for today and some other parts. I'm going to hand the mic over to the MCs. I as part of the Colectivo alongside, been working with the Menchistas here. First of all, I want to give another round of applause to the Menchistas. To get everything in order, and they just reestablished this year, like a couple months ago, so they're like on fire, so thank you. And mainly led by Mujeres, so that's even more powerful. There's several families that have come up that really want to come up and share their stories, and we don't want to say no, right? But what I want to do, just to, in a sense, there is one more family from Oxnard, right? And we thought it was important to invite Michael Mahoney's family to say just a few words, okay? Come up, sister, please. Thank you for coming.
my twin brother. He was my best friend, my other half. And he was number 2 of the 4 killed in the same beat in a matter of 4 months' time. Mrs. Ramirez, your son was the first, and I've been wanting to meet you for a very long time. I want justice for my brother. He shouldn't have died that way. We still have no word from the police department, and it's been 9 months. The little boy who's with him in this picture is my son. And in this picture, he was 2. This is a picture of my brother before he got sick. When they killed my brother, he had 2 colostomy bags for almost 9 months. He was 120 pounds, 5'10". You could see his spine coming out his back. It didn't have to happen like this. And he was also just out of coma on the wrong meds. They knew my brother's history. He died in the house that he grew up in. My whole life we lived there, 5 blocks from Oxnard PD. He was not the best behaved child, so he was known to Oxnard PD. But he never hurt anybody. And he was just starting to live. 3 days after he died, there was a voicemail to have his reversal surgery that I had spent 2 months getting him prepared for. I am so proud of my neighborhood that I don't live in anymore because I'm a little scared now. This is my first time in Oxnard in months. That you guys are standing up and you're fighting because it's wrong what they're doing. I don't know how to fight. I'm walking through this alone.
No, you're not.
No, you're not alone. We're with you. All right.
I would give anything to see his face or hear his voice, and that won't happen.
You'll see him in heaven. Yes, you will.
So I'm very proud of you guys. And I'm glad that I came in and my father is wanting to fight for my brother now through this. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask Cindy Mitchell to say just a few words, and then I'm gonna say one more thing, and then we're gonna transition to our keynote. Ms. Mitchell, family of Mario Romero from Vallejo.
Hi, my name is Cindy Mitchell. I am the sister of Mario Romero. He was murdered by the Vallejo Police Department as he sat in front of our family home. He was shot in his hands, in his wrists, in his chest, in his mouth, in his face, underneath his arms. And not only was he shot, he was mutilated by the knife of the officer who cut him from his seatbelt. My brother was unarmed, but he was attacked by an undrug-tested officer, Dustin Joseph of the Vallejo Police Department, who shot at his car 20+ times, and in that process hopped onto the hood of his car and continued to shoot as my family begged for him to stop. The Vallejo police have resorted to intimidation tactics to silence my family. My brother's body was stolen from the scene of the crime. It took a month, a little over a month before we buried him because they were hiding his body because they didn't want us to see what they had did to him. We've had our house revisited by the Vallejo police, taunting. We've had the sheriffs come by, knocking, peeking through windows, in an attempt to silence us. It's important for you to know that after they murdered my brother, they slandered his name in the media. They called him a parolee who was afraid of going back to prison. He had never been to prison and never been on parole. They lied and said he had a gun when witnesses witnessed a Corporal Stanley Ing, planting a fake gun inside of my brother's car after his body had been removed. The media, the people who kill your loved ones, they're allowed to slander their name and kill them again in the media. You know. It's very important for us to stand up. My family is fighting, we're not giving up. You know, we want there to be accountability for these undrug tested officers that are entrusted to patrol our communities. So I just wanted you guys to know my story, know my brother's story, know that he was murdered. And a lot of the stuff that you may have heard on the news is a lie. It was a slanderous lie that was created to make my brother's life appear insignificant. But my brother had a lot of people that loved him, and we're going to continue to fight until we get justice.
Just to let you know, we're going to make a collection of all of the photographs of everybody that's here. There's going to be a process that will take place later, and the MCs, Mr. Antonio Romero, Ms. Jacinta from the Colectivo, will give you direction to that. I want to end this part of the panel before we get to our keynote by saying thank you again to all the families that have come up to speak.
Sure, we got one quick announcement. We're at commercial time.